and this is something silly, but I learned this as an administrator in Bryan, is always offer them a bottle of water. When they're upset, offer them a bottle of water. Even if they say they don't want it, you put it in front of them and say, well, just in case, because for some reason, somebody smarter than me figured out a long time ago that calms people down naturally. Don't know, it works, so I use it.
Hi, everyone. This is Libby Pacheco from the THSCA. Welcome to Season 4 of the Coach's Call podcast. This season, we'll keep delivering content to help you tackle all the different aspects of coaching, from the personal side of what it means to lead to the professional challenges we know you face every day. With basketball and soccer seasons upon us, we want to encourage everyone to stay connected and engage with the Texas Way. This program is designed to foster positive sportsmanship across the state, and we're already seeing that positive impact in our fall sports. Positive sportsmanship is something our students, schools, and communities value deeply. So let's continue building on the momentum so we can ensure it remains a core part of Texas athletics. Finally, as leaders in community, education-based athletics, we encourage you to shine a light on all the good things happening in your program. Today, more than ever, it's important to show how athletics positively impact students, schools, and communities. Whether it's the hard work, character, or achievements, every day brings something worth celebrating. So don't let those moments go unnoticed and unshared. When you share your stories, you're helping build support for programs and strengthen our communities across the entire state. Thank you for tuning in, for supporting the podcast, and all you do to support the THSCA. Together, we will continue to help coaches help kids.
Did you know that you can use podcasting to not only share the great news about your athletes and your programs, but as a fundraiser for your booster club? Yes, Lone Star Gridiron produced the 5th podcast in history and has been doing it 20 years. We are expanding now to do shows outside of football. So whatever your sport, reach out to us at 713-269-4620. And we'll discuss how you can use this amazing tool to supercharge your program. And the best part, we do all the heavy lifting. Text your name and school to 713-269-4620. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Coach's Call. I'm Chris Daly, and I am joined today, again, with a whole passel of really cool coaches. But I'm going to hand over the mic to Jamie Boswell, the Andrews Athletic Director. And Coach Boswell, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you let us know who we're talking to today and what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. So my name is Jamie Boswell. I'm the Athletic Director. Very fortunate to be the Athletic Director at Andrews ISD out in West Texas, Permian Basin area, a little 4A Division I school, part of THSCA, which we're very grateful to be, spearheading this. I was talking to Coach Nally. I'm going to be at their 80s advisory in January. So looking forward to that. But I'm just going to introduce both of our coaches here with us today, and you tell us a little bit about yourselves. Stephanie, why don't you go first?
Okay. So my name is Stephanie Dillard. I'm the head volleyball coach and assistant athletic director here in Palestine ISD. This is my 3rd year to be here. My husband and I both are here. He is a head baseball coach. Previously, I was assistant principal at Bryan High School and Bryan ISD. And before that, I've had several coaching stints from 3A up to 6A as an assistant and as a head coach.
Awesome. Coach Nally.
Yeah, my name's Matt Nally. I've been coaching for 22 years. I am the head football coach at Melissa High School, and I'm also the boys coordinator, athletic coordinator. And my wife also works in the district, and I have 3 little boys. So that's awesome. Kind of about me. Yeah.
Well, we all have something in common. My wife is also with Andrew. She's an assistant principal. So Coach Dillard, you know how that goes. She's got a tough job.
I do.
Some days she comes home with a positive attitude. Some days she doesn't. Keep it positive at all times. But it's a great profession, obviously. But we'll just go right into it. And we're discussing Dealing with the modern parent.
All right.
It's 2024. I started my career in 1990. A little bit different age, I guess. Obviously, a different decade. Things have changed a little bit, but they haven't changed drastically, in my opinion. But we'll delve into it. So y'all can just go as you please. How do you keep parents positively involved as a coach, especially let's say whether you're a volleyball coach or a football coach, and I know Melissa's the 6A in Palestine is what, 4A?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So I'll tell you what, Coach Dillard, why don't you go first? How do you keep parents positively involved?
Well, the first thing that we do every year is for me, for volleyball and also for baseball, I know we have a parent meeting right before our first scrimmage. And it's more than just a meeting. We do some connection things like in the past, I've let my volleyball girls blindfold their parents and let them get out on the court. And then the players all get in the stands and yell at them and tell them what to do, where to go, how to do it. And so it shows them how confusing it can be whenever people are trying to give them the direction. And I tell them, my job is to coach them and to help them be better humans. Your job is to cheer for them if, in the stands during the games. We also do some get together stuff where we host some things like where parents are involved. In baseball, we do like a little cookout where we have hot dogs and stuff for our parent meeting and we do a scrimmage. It really, I think it depends on your culture in your district, on your campus, and seeing where those parents would like to take the lead, because I like to give them the ownership as well. We are very fortunate that we have a very good base of parents here in Palestine, and they are willing and wanting to be involved. And that's the big key. A lot of people are able to. And so that's where we benefit. I know that previously in Bryan, for instance, we had a lot of parents that wanted to be involved. They just weren't physically able to because of the demands of their jobs and their lives. So we had to get kind of creative of finding other ways for them to be a collaborative joint effort.
Gotcha. That's good stuff. Now we're moving on from, class 4A to the big 6A and Melissa, Coach Nally.
We're actually 5A, but yeah,
5A, my bad.
We have numbers to be 6A, but
I thought you all were growing that fast. My fault.
We are. But so what we do is, and I'll be honest with you, I've stolen everything. Like I'm not a genius by any stretch of the means, but so obviously we do a parent meeting as well to start the season off. But before that, I'm going to start in January. So in January we'll have team parents. So like we have varsity team parents, JV team parents, freshman team parents. And what we do there is, and I say team parents, we call them team moms. And what they do is they organize the entire spring, the entire summer, and the entire fall. And what they do as well is they have committees within that. So like we'll have a varsity spirit committee. We have a JV spirit committee, and we do things for homecoming, and they have all of these kinds of committees, but and whatnot. We meet once a week during the season, and we meet once a month during the spring leading up to spring ball with me, my assistant head coach, and these team parents. So during the spring, we do, and I think this just keeps the community involved as well, but we do community service projects.
Right.
So we'll do, like last year, we helped the church. We've built ramps. We've done volunteer work with the fire department and the police department and things like that. We do that throughout the spring. In the summertime, I let everybody off, go be kids, and whatnot. And then we do have our a parent meeting that we begin before we start fall camp. And we have a parent meeting too before we start spring football. And man, I'm forgetting all this stuff. We do parent meetings throughout the spring football, recruiting, how to act as a parent. We do, I bring in different people in the month of May after we finish spring ball, different professions, different things like that. So the kids can learn from those people. And then the last thing we do is we bring all the kids in, and we have someone donate steaks, and we teach the kids how to cook steaks with their parents at the end of the year. And then getting into the season, we have a parent meeting. And then, you set all those rules and boundaries and whatnot through the parent meeting. And I make sure to put slides and whatnot on Sports U so they can see those things. But the team moms are vital for me personally, because you're going to have negativity that's going to sprout up somewhere. And those team moms, a part of their job is to facilitate and to push down that negativity that happens in stands. And to kind of, be the pulse of the program, so I can hear about it before it gets too big and whatnot, and we can move forward. But man, that's just the synopsis of it, and it has been vital to our program. And because we do live in an entitled program, or entitled world, we do live in a place where parents want to put their kids first and not, learning the lessons of life. So I think those things that I just talked about, it helps us a little bit and puts a dent in that just a little bit.
Right. I've been coaching a long time. This is my 6 years in athletic administration, and I was a head basketball coach for a long time. So, just like volleyball, just like football, in the basketball world, the parents want their kid and the best 4 on the floor. In the football world, they want the best 10 in their kid, and volleyball, they want the best 5 in, their kid. Right. But you've talked about community service, you talked about parent meetings, you talked about forming those relationships, setting those boundaries. Obviously, you have an open door policy. You're speaking to the parents, you're not speaking at them. You're trying to lead with them as you go, which is good stuff. So, you talked about entitlement. Everybody wants instant gratification. You may start the season, like we started off the season 1-6 in football, and people in Andrews were not too happy, but we've won 4 in a row. We upset the first round opponent in the playoffs, and we're going against a very, very tough opponent in Canyon Randall, who's 10-1 in the second round, and we're just going to, see what happens. But how do you deal with an upset parent, whether it be a varsity player, JV, freshman? How do you deal with that parent, Coach Nally? Then we'll move to Coach Dillard.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to let a parent do is talk, because they want to get off, they want to get it off their chest. And, you can't hate on a parent for loving their kid. So first thing I'm going to do is let them speak. And what I say, though, in my parent meetings is I'm going to treat your son like they're my son. So once you're done and you've got everything off your chest, and I tell them, when we're having meetings, I'm going to take a note. I'm taking notes, and I'm going to let you speak. And I need you to get it all out before I speak. And I tell them I'm going to treat them like they're my kids. So when the parent's in there, also the player is in there as well. And at this time, hopefully they went through protocol, and that kid has had a hard conversation with his position coach. And that kid also has went through the stages of, I've met with my position coach, I've met with the head coach. Now it's a parent meeting, and I've taken notes during those meetings as well. And I'm going to tell that parent, I'm going to be transparent with that parent. And, here in Melissa, if you're a freshman, you're going to get quality reps in practice and in the game. JV is the same thing. Varsity is a way different deal. Right. And coaches don't go into a season wanting to lose games. So they want to win. So the best players have to play. So knowing this, I'm not going to talk to you about your son's playing time. I will talk to you about what your son has got to do to get better.
Right.
I'm not going to talk to you about playing time, because at the end of the day, coaches want to win games, and the best 11 kids have to play in those games. This is what your son has to do to get better. But the best thing that I ever learned was allowing the parent to speak first, because when you go in there and you want to defend your program or whatever the case may be, that parent loves their kid. Let the parent love their kid and let the parent fight for their kid. And once the parent is done fighting for their kid, then you say, I've already told little Johnny X, Y, and Z. We've already told little Johnny X, Y, and Z. Little Johnny, have we? Yes. And then, go into the situation of, hey, this is what's if he wants to play, this is what he's got to do to have an opportunity to play here in Melissa. But nothing is guaranteed.
Right. Coach Dillard.
Yes. So I do a lot of the same things Coach Nally said. I agree with everything he just said. I think that your relationship with them, especially when they're upset, it really starts prior to all of that, right? Even prior to the parent meeting, they have to see that you are equitable across the board. I have to we fortunately and unfortunately have our oldest son with us right now. He's a senior and he plays for my husband. And so that's been something that's we've had to deal with, and I've had to deal with as a parent, as also as a coach, because it's tough. It's tough on them. I was a coach's kid. I was a coach's grandkid. So I know how that goes. So being completely transparent also includes being equitable, no matter who the kid is, whether it's a starter or whether it's somebody that doesn't get a lot of time,
Right.
The other thing is, at our parent meeting, I have a handbook, and I don't go over the handbook with them except for a couple of things. One of the things that we touch on is talking to coaches. And I learned from a mentor a long time ago, we don't call it the chain of command, we call it the chain of communication. Right. And so the chain of communication starts with, assistant coach, team captain, if it may be the case, and then head coach. And then it goes on to being with the parent. If we can't resolve that, then the parent joins. And absolutely, they are an advocate. A lot of times with girls, especially with that transition from junior high to high school, parents have to learn that they need to step back in the advocate position and let the child be the advocate for themselves moving forward. Because I don't ever deter from, my main goal is to help your daughter be a better human and be a better daughter, a better mom one day, a wife one day, and so with that learning comes having to advocate for themselves and having those tough conversations. I'm very transparent with parents, coaches, athletes. I think that you do need to let them vent and get what they're upset about off their chest. I just always refer back to, one of the few things I'm able to control is playing time. And I'm never going to put somebody out there that I don't feel has earned that spot. But earning it comes from the weight room. It comes from the classroom. It comes from out in the hallway. It all reverts back to that good human, it goes back to the kitchen. Like, are they fueling their body? Are they taking care of their bodies? Are they at their optimal performance? Because especially with girls, we struggle with eating properly. And so we kind of set those expectations that it's not just about court time. I mean, it's not just about what they do on the court, game time, or even practice time. It's about what they do, everything else, culmination for that.
Right. That's good stuff. I'm going to steal that chain of communication. I like that. Maybe sometimes people feel threatened when you mention certain words, or if you're, you have a parent meeting with multiple adults that maybe, are head coaches or an assistant, a parent might feel threatened. I've experienced that. Go ahead.
I agree. I think that it started, honestly, like I said, my mentor several years ago told me that, but I think it's a two-way thing. We talk about respect and things of that nature being a two-way street between the student or the student athlete and teachers, the student athlete coaches and parents, student athletes and parents. We talk about how they talk to parents or how we handle situations with parents from opposing teams, but the chain of communication, it goes both ways. So I need to listen to my athletes as well when they have a concern, and they need to know that at that point they are leading that chain of command or chain of communication, and I am the recipient of it. So it's just like a link chain. It goes both ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. As a I don't know everything. I don't admit to that, and I'm learning as every single day as I go. And one thing that I try to do as an overall AD, and I know I'm in a little bit smaller school maybe than both of y'all. We have about 1,200 in high school, but we've got Coach Nally, we've got 5A sports in Andrews. We've got swim, we've got soccer, we've got everything under the sun, and we want to be competitive in everything. But what I try to do as a leader is, I put, and it's a risk, but I put a lot of trust in our coaches to do the right thing and to lead the right way. And so when there's an issue, I'm basically saying, hey, you're the head coach, let's do the right thing, let's handle it the right way. Right. And if they need help, then I'm there for them. But I'm never going to try to micromanage because I've been in those shoes as a head coach, and it's not professional for somebody to micromanage you, in my opinion. I'm not trying to step on toes. You know what I mean? It's just not good because you're hired for a specific reason, and that's to lead a program. And I like what both of y'all have said. It's more than just coaching. It's more than just X's and O's. You're here to build future leaders of character. That's one of our main themes. We want to build future leaders of character. They're going to be responsible adults in everything they do. So, that's great stuff. So, sometimes you have parent meetings that, are emotional. Do y'all have a certain rule? A parent reaches out to you, contacts you. You have a 24-hour rule. You have a 48-hour rule. What's your standard as far as when you're going to meet with a parent after something that's emotional? Go first.
Well, yeah, I would say I'm going in the what we've gone. So the pattern we've gone in so far. I do the 24-hour rule just because it's always been something that I've been taught by head coaches and ADs before. I definitely throw into that though, if I have not met with the student athlete, or if in the case of I'm over, part of being an assistant AD is I'm over other head coaches. So if I haven't had the chance or they haven't had the chance, we follow that chain of communication again, so it may be 24 hours plus, or but definitely no sooner than the 24 hours, unless sometimes it's unavoidable. When you have a parent that comes in and they are adamant and they are going to make a scene, okay, step into the office and let's see what we can hash out and figure out right now. The big thing about that though is, and this is something silly, but I learned this as an administrator in Bryan, is always offer them a bottle of water when they're upset. Offer them a bottle of water. Even if they say they don't want it, you put it in front of them and say, well, just in case, because for some reason, somebody smarter than me figured out a long time ago that calms people down naturally. Don't know, it works. So I use it. And then we just follow the kind of the chain of communication, okay, look, we're going to let you say what you have to say. And then the head coach or the assistant coach, whoever it may be, they get their turn. And the student athlete has to be in there as well. And the student athlete has to give their turn, and everybody has to be able to speak freely and uninterrupted. And going back to what Coach Nally said, everything's got to be left on the table. We can't hold anything back. It's got to be very transparent because it doesn't get resolved if that's the case. And so people have to be able to take that, whether they're 15 or 50, they've got to be able to take the answer that's given,
Right. Coach Nally, your thoughts?
First off, I think that we do a 48-hour rule here. And the reason that I installed that was I think that it gives you that time to, once we get, hey, we want to meet. Well, cool. We have 48 hours to meet. It gives everybody an opportunity to kind of get all the facts down before we meet. We don't allow any parents to have contact with a coach before or after a practice. Or before or after a game. 48 hours, obviously is a long time sometimes. But for me, it allows me to get, once again, like Coach Dillard was saying, I'm over other people. So it allows me an opportunity to get all the facts before we have a meeting and just so everybody can be on the same page. And I don't like going into a meeting and finding things out while I'm sitting in a meeting. And I'm sorry, I have to go back to the previous thing because the best thing and I didn't do it this year, and it kind of bit me. So, but I've done it for the last 5 years I've been here. But the best thing we ever did was have home visits. So if you're coming to the varsity sport, we did a home visit, and that was awesome. We have packets and stuff like that, which was amazing. But I've had parents that have walked in and said, I demand a meeting right now. Now, I'm in a different place than Coach Dillard. I used to coach in East Texas, and East Texas parents are a little bit different from North Texas parents. And in North Texas, I'm like, we're not meeting. You have to go through the process for us to meet, because if we allow one, we're going to allow the floodgates are going to open. And we've been in situations before where we had to get the SROs and stuff like that. Just, hey, we're not doing this. I'm not saying that's can go everywhere, but if we allowed it here, we would allow just a ton of parents to come in and do their thing. When I was in East Texas, which is the motherland, I'm from Frankston, Texas, by the way, Coach Dillard. It's an awesome place.
Oh, goodness.
But when you're there, like I said, just the parent is a different parent than they are here. So, but we have to do those things here. Now, I'm going to steal the bottled water thing. I'm going to steal that for myself on a Friday night. I'm going to be like, I'm going to get a bottle of water and just hold it with me on a Friday night.
It works. I'm telling you. I promise it works.
Well, that's great stuff. I like that bottle of water too. See, I'm getting nuggets here, which is good. Now, do you have a meeting with a parent without the child? Because, I've been in the situations where, Coach, don't tell my kid I'm talking to you. I don't want my kid to know, blah, blah, blah. Is there any situation where it's like, okay, I'll go ahead and meet with you without the student athlete?
I used to do that, where I would say, okay, yeah. What I do is when he says, hey, or she says, hey, I'd like to meet with you without my kid, I always reply back, okay, well, what's the topic of discussion? And if the topic of discussion is playing time or anything like that, then no, absolutely not. I'm not going to meet with the parent unless that student is involved. Now, I've met with parents before when it comes to, I'm afraid my son's on drugs, or I'm afraid my son's going to commit suicide or things like that. Then yes. But I always lead it with, what is the topic of discussion for this meeting? And 99.9 of them are, I want to talk to you about his playing time, or I want to talk to you about something to do with playing or something like that. Then the answer is no.
Gotcha. Coach Dillard.
Yeah. So just piggybacking off of what Coach Nally said, it's the same for me. I go back to being 100% transparent, and that applies to me as well as to the parent, as well as to the student athlete. As an administrator, as a school administrator, yes, I agree. I would say, okay, we can meet and talk. But the minute it becomes something related to teacher oriented, then no, we've got to get the student in there. If it's something with self-harm or thinking, that nature, of course. But as a coach, I've never had that situation, thankfully. And I tell them that we will not meet unless the student athlete's there, because, there's three sides to every story. And so I find it's more productive, and it gets more things out in the open that need to be out in the open. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's the parent that has the issue, not the student athlete that has the issue. So that's a whole nother, topic. But yeah, that's just my rule that I implement. I mean, that I follow, even if it's not one of my athletes, if it's like a tennis kid or something, we have the tennis head coach, myself, and then the parent and the athlete.
Right. Well, is there an example? Obviously, you don't have to mention names or locations. Is there an example of a challenging interaction with a parent and how you resolved it effectively? I've been approached after a heated basketball game from a parent that said, respectfully, we're not talking about it right now. You can contact my AD tomorrow. But has there ever been like a really challenging interaction with a parent? And if there was, how did you resolve it in a professional manner?
Well, I've had two. One as an assistant coach, I had a parent follow me into the laundry room after a game. I was an assistant basketball coach, actually, and they followed me into the laundry room after a game and wanted to talk to me about some playing time. It was very early in the season, and thankfully, the coaches that I had on staff with me at the time saw him come after me and kind of intervened and helped and said, "No, we'll talk about this at another time." So that one was kind of just by chance, I had some people there with me, and they were able to help, and we were able to meet the next day. And actually, it was a Monday we met, so it was a couple days later. And everybody had cooled down, and we got it resolved. And he was, he did apologize, and he was told respectfully by the athletic director at the time, "Don't ever do that again, or you won't be allowed on campus." The other issue I've had has been with social media. Unfortunately, it's a great thing, but it can also be very, very harmful to people. And so the way I handled that was I reached out to the parent and asked the parent to come in along with my athletic director and a representative from the district at the time. And while they have the freedom to say how they, things they want to say on their own platform, we went back to, is this in the best interest of your child? Is this in the best interest of our sports, our academics, our community? And just kind of, it went back to, if you don't hear it with your own ears or see it with your own eyes, then don't speak it with your own mouth. It all was something that was not even truth. There was no truth in the situation. So it just kind of came back to that. The big thing about social media is, though, you've got to be able to block it off. And I think unfortunately, a lot of our younger coaches get caught up in trying to defend themselves, and that makes it even worse. So I love social media to promote our program and our kids, but I hate it because it is the toxic cesspool of the internet. It's awful. But but yeah, those are the two things that I've had that come to mind right away.
Coach Nally.
I've been doing this for a long time, so I've been cussed out, to my face, after games. I've been chased to the locker room, chased in the parking lot. I've had all those things. And, Coach Dillard's right. First off, social media and the internet is something that, it affected me. I'm 43 years old, and it affected me what was going on. But, my AD at Melissa was like, stay off of it. And, this is a couple years ago, and this is the first year I did it, and it's been very freeing and whatnot. And I know it's difficult and it's tough to do, but that is something that I would say to all coaches to stay off of it, because there is a mental side to this as well. Like, we put so many hours into this, and we put all of our heart and soul, and we sacrifice so much. And then you have some guy who's, upset or whatever the case may be, and is getting on the internet talking about you. And people can say it doesn't bother me and whatnot. And people are tougher than I am, but it does, it can hurt your feelings and things like that and whatnot. But because you put so much into it. But
right.
For me, the best one ever was I had a parent that was upset with me, was running their head in the stands and all that stuff. And it got to me, and, hey, come on in and let's talk about it face to face. No, I'm not talking to you face to face, yada, yada, yada. Essentially through some emails and whatnot, got, face to face, which is the best thing you can do in talking to a parent. And, it ended with them being, allowing them to get everything off their chest and allowing me to get everything off my chest. And, it ended in a hug. So, but it was just an awesome opportunity for people to get in a room and have that conversation. But, I think Coach Dillard's doing an amazing job, and she could have probably done this by herself.
No.
But I, the one thing that she said was having other people in the room as well. Like, I learned that as an early young coach. I used to have meetings just like, they don't teach you certain things, in college and whatnot when you're a young coach. So I'm having meetings by myself with parents and whatnot, and they're going back and saying, Coach Nally said this or Coach Nally said that. And I'm like, no, I didn't. So that's when, you start to adopting somebody in there with you, you take notes and stuff like that when you're dealing with parents. But what I've learned really is parents love their kids and allow them to, have an opportunity to speak about their kids. And then, allow them to have their own opinions, and it's okay for them to have their own opinion, and it's okay for them to say things about it, because at the end of the day, they love their kid, and And, you just have to accept that as a coach and move on.
Right. I tell the Andrews fans all the time, and they may agree, they may disagree, but I said, we can agree to disagree on things, and that's okay, but we're going to do so in a civil manner.
Right.
Our doors are always going to be open, but we're always going to act professionally towards each other, if that makes sense. And one thing I do like about Twitter, Coach Dillard, I'm a big Twitter person. I just love promoting,
Me too.
THCA, our school, sports, whatever, is the block feature.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I don't know who this guy was, but he tagged me in a tweet as soon as we got finished with district play and basically said we need to do this and that. We should get rid of this and that. And I was like, block.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I didn't lose any sleep over that one.
Nope.
And had many of my mentors tell me, he said, in coaching, you're gonna see a lot of personal attacks at times, but you can't take it personally, and that's tough to
Correct.
do. It really is tough to do, but I think, we're strong people. We have a heart for kids, and it shows with you two right here, So chain of communication, we've had a parent meeting, parent may be upset. And let's say the parent says, you know what, I'm not satisfied with the outcome of what just transpired. When, at what point do you involve an administrator? Everybody has a different role. You have an overall AD that's in charge of you. You got a campus administration. When do you involve somebody else? It's in a little bit different title.
Coach Nally, do you want to?
Yeah.
It's your turn.
So what I do is, and this is going to sound terrible, but I have gotten to the point in my career where I'm like, I'm not here to save my job. I'm here for a reason, and that is for kids. And I'm not going to be that person that is going to bow down to a parent or anything like that. I'm not here to save my job. I am lucky to where I'm at and where I've been in the past, where I've had administrators that have supported coaches, and that makes the job so much easier. So what I do is I have the initial meeting, and if the parent's like, I don't like that, I don't like what you're saying or anything like that, well, I say, okay, that's fantastic. But the next meeting that you have with me will be with my athletic director.
Right.
Or me and my athletic director. And then we have that meeting. And if they're not satisfied, then my athletic director says, well, we're not having any more meetings. And then you can start the grievance process if you would like. But I'm fortunate. I am extremely blessed to be here and to have Seth Stinton as my athletic director, because he is so super supportive of coaching and coaches and understands what we go through. So that's how we do it. We have one parent meeting, and if they're like, I'm not satisfied, then the athletic director and the head coach meet, or like me, I would meet. If it was the baseball coach, it would be me, the baseball coach, and Seth, and we would have that meeting. And then the great thing about it is after that meeting is over, we listen, together and whatnot. But when that meeting is over, Seth usually says, well, me and Matt are going to sit down and have a conversation. And then when we have that conversation, we allow the parent, will say, hey, we'll call you back, or you can come back up. It's up to you. And then we have that conversation then. But the greatest part about it is when they leave, you get to sit down with your athletic director and you get to reflect about what they said.
Right.
And to me, that's a huge piece of, you're trying to learn yourself, but also you're trying to make kids successful. You're not trying to, defend yourself or whatever the case may be, or defend your program. You're trying to help that kid be successful. Right. And it's an opportunity for you to reflect on, okay, maybe I didn't do the right thing or whatever. So, but yeah, that's how we do it.
That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So one piece that I'll add, I'm very fortunate that I've been able to, I'm in a district where our administration is very supportive also, our athletic director, our principal, our superintendent. So that helps tremendously. I will say one thing that I add to it is also something that I tell my kids when they come to me with a problem, as far as in the classroom or whatever the case may be. I ask them their solution. So if you present a problem to somebody, you also need to be prepared to present a solution, with that, you're not just coming with a problem for somebody to fix for you. You're an active participant in trying to fix this, trying to correct this issue, whatever the case may be. So if we have our discussion and the parent says, well, I'm not happy about that, or I don't like that, or I don't agree. Okay, well, now is your turn to tell me what you suggest I do. I mean, we're the only profession I feel like that people come to our job and tell us what to do and how to do it.
Right.
So this is more of a controlled environment of them having some autonomy in it and feeling like they've got some ownership in this decision for their child, essentially, or for this decision for themselves. And if it's something that we can talk it through and it's realistic, then for the most part, it catches them off guard, because they're not prepared for that. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that they're like, oh, she really does value what I have to say, or, oh, I really do have some valuable input, or,
Right.
So more times than not, we can work through that if the direction of the conversation goes that way. But then, just like Coach Nally said, I get with my athletic director and we kind of talk about it beforehand, and then we set up a meeting. And then in the past, the athletic director has said, this is how it's going to be. Here's what do you have to say? And they have another perspective to put on it. And then if they don't like what the athletic director has to say, then here's the process that you go through for, taking it further. And then obviously at the superintendent, it stops. If you don't like the answer, then I'm sorry. There are other schools that your child is able to attend.
Right. That's good. That's good. Both of you are in leadership roles, and you're dealing with coaches, you're working with coaches. What is your advice for, let's say, a young coach, maybe a young head coach of a sport, a young assistant coach, whatever the case may be, that is struggling with parents, struggling with the day-to-day, struggling with everything that's going on, just the whole 9 yards?
I would say the biggest thing that I tell coaches that are struggling, even if they're not struggling, I try to be a little bit more proactive to where they don't struggle with certain things. But, like Coach Nally alluded to earlier, there's a lot of stuff we're not taught, and I am 100% an advocate for learning on the job and learning other aspects. Like I use some stuff from soccer coaches. I use some stuff from football coaches. I use a lot of baseball stuff. I'm a member of a baseball association that's a national association. I go to the meetings with my husband every year, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things. So the first thing I tell them is they've got to surround themselves with other coaches that have been in the profession a while, people that they rely on, that they trust to give them any kind of advice, whether it's coaching or not, but also in organizations, like THSCA is a great one that they can be a member of and learn so much, and they can learn what they want to learn. They're in total control of that. The biggest thing, though, that I tell them is stay off of social media and don't get personal with kids outside of being personal at school. Don't get, I'm one of those that I hug on my girls. I love my girls. They know that they can come to me. They all know where I live. If anything happens, they know they can reach out, but they also know that there is imaginary line, I guess you could say. Yep. There's a boundary, absolutely, that you don't cross. And that's with parents too. And it's really hard, like I'm friends with a lot of these parents, but you've got to have that separation a little bit, because I think that starts clouding judgment, especially with younger coaches. And then I guess the last thing I would say is the second person rule, like whether you are an assistant coach and you need your head coach in a meeting with you, whether it's just when we do cuts, when we cut kids at the beginning of the year, we have two coaches in there in that meeting. With parents, anytime, if it's with a teacher, even have somebody else with you. It's not to be defensive about things. It's just to make sure that you are being heard correctly, and that there's somebody else that can advocate, for you.
It's good stuff. And I'm going to steal some thunder. You're still going to get your chance, Coach Nally, but Dillard talked about coaches coaching coaches, mentor coaches. And I think THSCA does a great job with that. And, they started the mentor program for the rock mentoring. I was a part of that, and I'm nominated rocks for, to be future rock stars in our profession. So that's good stuff. So Coach Nally.
That's what I would say. I would say go find a mentor. And I'm going to tell you exactly what my mentor told me. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of just fell into it. I was trying to figure out schemes and stuff, and I was a young kid. And I went and met a guy talking about schemes and whatnot. He just turned into kind of somebody that was special for me and helped me through this profession. But this is what he told me. And I think it was great. Number one, as a young coach, never call a parent by their first name. Always call them Mr. or Mrs. whatever, because now you have drawn that line of, we are not friends. And I have made the mistake before of becoming friends with a parent, and then they wanting things from me with their kid and whatnot, moving forward. That's number one is that piece of it. Number two, I really firmly believe that you have to take care of yourself. So like you have to make sure that, somehow, some way you're becoming spiritually better. Somehow, some way you're becoming mentally better. Somehow, some way you're becoming physically better. Because if not, you're going to lose a piece of you, and you're going to try to find it in somebody else. And then you're going to lose that confidence in yourself too. And you're going to think to yourself, maybe that parent is right. And I'm not saying parents are always wrong. I'm not. Because sometimes parents are right, and we've got to, as coaches, admit that, okay, they're right. And you've got to admit that to a parent as well. But doing this for 22 years, and Coach Dillard might tell me I'm wrong, but 99.9% of the conversation I have with parents, they're wrong. And they're not there. They're not there for the program. They're there for their only one kid.
Right.
So, for me, it's always going into that situation, and I got to feel confident that I am doing the right thing for all kids, not just one kid, but every kid. But in that situation, it is, how can I help that kid be successful? And that kid might be successful on, punt. He might not be the starting outside linebacker, but he might be successful on punt. Yeah. Make a long story short, and most time parents don't want to hear that my son can only play punt. But, at the end of the day, that's going to make him successful. Right. But essentially, like I'm saying, find a mentor. Number one, find somebody. And we're in the profession of coaching. And I say this all the time to people, and people don't understand it, but we live in this egotistical world. And I like to say that I'm not egotistical. I am so egotistical, and most coaches are. We want to help each other. We really do want to help. If you ask a coach, hey, can you help me do, X, Y, Z, A, B, C? Every coach is going to say yes.
Right.
And we can say it's to help, but we do have a little ego. Yeah, we want to help you. Please come and listen to me and yada, yada, and whatnot. But get a mentor, and then make sure, because I really believe in the mental health part of it. Take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're then going to reach out to, it's going to overwhelm you. The job is going to overwhelm you, and then you're going to reach and do some other things that you shouldn't be doing with alcohol or drugs or whatever the case may be, to succumb that feeling that you're dealing with. Because all of us know, as being head coaches, when you're sitting in the head coach's chair, it's lonely. It's very lonely. And so that would be my deal. You could call somebody that's been doing the job, and you trust that person, and they can help you along your journey.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Coach Boswell, so much for brilliant questions. And don't worry about it running a little long. That's one of the wonderful things about podcasts. We can go as long as we want. And plus I can edit Coach Nally a little bit. And thank you, Coach Nally, and Coach Dillard as well.
Thank you, Coach Dillard.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Great thing about this is I'm going to start following y'all. All right.
Yeah.
The rest of this,
Just
rest
don't
of the
block
year.
me on Twitter.
Oh, no. It's all good. It's all good.
Love it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck to you guys. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Chris.
Hey, of course, I want to thank our guest, but I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me what I consider the most valuable thing you can give, your time and your attention. And I know you don't do it to hear me. You do it for the great messages provided by the THSCA. And hey, if you'd like to associate your company with the THSCA and the Coach's Call podcast, limited sponsorship opportunities are available. You can reach out to me, Chris Daly, 713-269-4620, or head over to my website, freshmediaworks.com. Once again, thank you so much for supporting Texas high school coaches. Please share this show out to everybody you can so that we can help share these important messages. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time on The Coach's Call. The interviews in this show are brought to you by the Texas High School Coaches Association. THSCA provides to its more than 26,000 members access to the people, events, tools, and resources to help them thrive in the profession, become trusted leaders in their communities, and live balanced and successful lives. The work and sacrifice coaches do every day is vital to the development and success of student athletes. The THSCA supports these efforts. We fight for every coach, provide them with the connections and resources to improve their lives, and help all student athletes throughout the state enjoy lasting success. The mission statement is simply this: to help and serve Texas high school coaches as they work to help and serve student athletes. Helping coaches help kids. For more information on the THSCA, visit www.thsca.com.